Hi guys, so I am recording the vocabulary for the ugly vegetables because I forgot to record our meeting today when we went over it. So I'm just going to cover what we went over in the meeting and teach you what we came up with. So the learners helped me come up with emotions and we worked on our triggers together. So these are all their ideas from the meeting. So our first vocabulary is blooming. Sunflowers are blooming in the field. They face the sun as their flowers grow. So for blooming we said blooming. So we kind of came up, grew, and bloomed. The next word is shovels. These children use shovels to help plant a tree. And for shovels, we just did the motion of digging with a shovel. Okay. Number 3 is scent. Roses have a scent or smell that is as sweet as perfume. So scent, we just sniffed the air for scent. 4 is tough. A pumpkin has a tough outer skin that is hard to break. And for tough, we kind of took a fist and hit our chest and said, tough, tough. So that's what we did for tough. All right, for wrinkled, a raisin is a dried, wrinkled grape, but it is still sweet. And for wrinkled, we kind of crumpled, like with our fingers a little bit, and we said it was wrinkled. So that's what we did for wrinkled. All right, for 6 was plain. The plant on the left is plain. The plant on the right is fancy. So the motion for this, we kind of used this sentence as our guide. And we said for plain, we said fancy and then plain. So fancy, plain, because plain is not fancy. For 7, we said muscles. It takes strong muscles to use a loaded wheelbarrow. And this one you probably already know what we would do for this. We said muscles. Muscles. All right, for the last word, nodded, the girl nodded her head up and down to show that she would help in the garden. You probably know what motion we chose for this as well. We just nodded. So we moved our head up and down and we nodded. Okay, so just to go over what these words mean. Most of them are pretty simple, but shovels are garden tools used for lifting dirt and soil. Nodded is moved your head up and down. Wrinkled, folded up in a messy way or crumpled. Muscles, parts of the body used to help you move and do things. Tough is hard, thick on the outside. Blooming, having flowers. Scent, a smell. And plain, simple, not fancy. Okay? And of course in our meeting we did our triggers, so grab your own paper and pencil and follow along with the triggers that they helped come up with today. Alright, so we're just going to go through them kind of quickly. Alright, so for our first, we did blooming. So in our first box we had blooming. And we just did a sketch for this. You can draw whatever you would like that's blooming. I did a bush. Okay, and I put some ground with it to make it look more like a bush. And I did flowers on my bush because remember, blooming is just, having flowers. So I put that my bush is blooming. You can just do a flower that is blooming. You can do a tree with flowers, whatever you would like to show for blooming. But do a sketch for blooming. Because remember, sketch is like a picture. Remember, you can always pause this video if I go too fast. So the next word we did was scent, like the smell, not like the money or to send someone somewhere. And we did a T-chart with good and bad scents. So we had good on one side and bad on the other. And we came up with lots of really good examples. Okay, we had candles for good, flowers, and warmer. And when the learner came up with this one, it was like a wax melt warmer. So the things that smell really good. For bad, we had matches, skunks, and a diaper, a dirty diaper. All right? And as always, feel free to add more to your list of things that you can think of. Brainstorm good sense and bad sense. The next word we did was wrinkled. Okay, and for this we did a circle map. Thinking map is our trigger. And so we had wrinkled in the inner circle, because that's our main idea. That's what our circle map is about. Well, it's kind of messy. And then they came up with lots of really great examples for wrinkled, okay? So we had socks, so if you ever had wrinkled socks, grapes, crumpled paper, clothes, so like wrinkly clothes, shoes, if they ever get old and worn, they have those wrinkles in them, raisins, so like from our sentence, and blueberries. So all really great examples. Okay, pause here if you need to catch up, of wrinkled. All right, so the last word for our first page we did was plain, and this we did as an acrostic, where we did plain. Remember, you put up and down, and they came up with examples and things that are plain, that work with these letters. So they said popcorn. So if you don't get any crazy popcorn, you just get plain popcorn. Lines. So if you just have plain lines on a paper, they're not squiggly, they're not curly, they're just lines. It's pretty plain. Someone said a plain piece of paper. So a blank paper like this before there is anything on it. Ooh. Ice was another example that came up with, because ice is very plain. It's just water. And then the last one, we had two different things you could choose from. You could say inside of a pumpkin, or another one came up with nuts. Like nuts are very plain by themselves. So you can choose whatever works there. And of course, if you think of words that you would like to put in there instead, you are always more than welcome to do your own words in these triggers. These triggers are for you to help you remember these words. All right, let's flip over to our other side. For knotted, we did an analogy, which, remember, that's kind of the comparing two things, putting things that are similar, connected, have a similar relationship. So for this, we said moving our head up and down is to yes, as left to right is to no. Okay, so thinking about nodding is like yes, as shaking your head is to no. Okay, so that was the analogy we did for that. For shovel, we just did another sketch. So we just drew a picture of a shovel however you'd like. I drew mine kind of digging a hole. So I had my shovel. Ooh, not my best art. And I had it digging a hole. So I had a bunch of dirt around it. And then, of course, to be extra clear that the shovel is the vocabulary word, I also drew an arrow to point. Because it's not hole, it's not dig, it's shovel. Okay, for muscles, we just did examples. We used an example trigger, and they just did examples of things you use your muscles for, like picking up bricks, working out, use it for karate, riding a bike. They came up with lots of really great examples in our meeting. Gymnastics. And then I added some things that you also use muscles for: smiling and talking. Those are actually muscles that you're using. And you can always add as many more examples as you'd like. I love it when I see people use more examples. All right, and then the last one we did was, of course, tough. And for this, we did an equation. So this, remember, is when you add two things together to equal the vocabulary word of tough. So they came up with some really good ones. They said, if you're weak, but you work out, so weak plus work out, you're going to become tough. One was thinking of Thanksgiving, and she said baking plus turkey equals tough. So sometimes you know that turkey, when you bake it, is going to get tough. It's not going to be as soft, as juicy. One of them said muscles plus muscles. So if you have lots of muscles, you're going to be pretty tough. And the last one we said, they said, was work plus hard. So if you work hard to get tough, you're going to be tough. So working hard. Of course, always feel free to add as many more. All right, I know I went pretty quick with that today, but remember, you can always pause and refresh. But those are your vocabulary words for the ugly vegetables. Have a great rest of your day.